Welcome to the Teaming Up Show, your guide to the future of real estate, I think.
We hope. No, just kidding. We are.
The guide of awesomeness, real estate stuff, coolness. Okay, I'm Josh Pomerlow, joined again by Krysta. This is going to be probably 404 for today, four episodes for today. Maybe we'll see you in a couple of years again.
We'll do a few more. Hope it's a little sooner than that.
We're going to talk, we're going to get a little bit crazy on you today. We're going to get a little bit deeper than we've ever been. Maybe a little bit more honest, maybe a little bit more, what is it called when you're like...
vulnerable.
Yes, we're vulnerable. And we're going to just talk a personal story about dysfunctions in a team. Because we read the book called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And it went really hand in hand with some issues that we were having in one side of the business. And so let's just talk about that. We'll talk about that, and we might have another story at the end of it, too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been on the team for about 4 years, and I would say within the last 6 months or so, Josh kind of just was smelling around a little bit more than he normally had been, and having some discussions with me about my role on the team and what my future just looks like for me and what my dreams and things are. And deep down, he was probably trying to probe into me to help me self-discover the fact that I probably am not the best skill set at maybe what I'm presently doing right now. And I think
which I want to come back and say that what you've done for the team has been not many people could probably do, and it got us through crazy times of, and I'm not just doing it to protect you, I'm doing it because this is honesty, because I wouldn't do it if it wasn't honest, that you're going to have closed hundreds of listing transactions, and just this year alone you're going to close 160, 170, kind of by yourself, while two of our main people in the admin team had pregnancies.
Correct, they were gone on maternity
So me
leave.
sniffing around saying that Krysta wasn't the right role for something was maybe she was doing a great job. It's just that she could do something else that where we're going that we need her to do.
Correct. Yeah. So, and because of that, I remember sitting in my office and feeling like I'm doing things, but I'm not getting the joy out of the everyday function that I was having anymore. And it was probably starting to show on my face. And I think that started to create a whole bunch of videos that maybe you've even already created when you talk about self-awareness and grit and where that comes from. All of these conversations have just developed in the last 6 months, just in terms of you helping me be self-aware of what's actually going on inside, and rather than me blocking it off, because my number one thing I love to do and I want to protect the team, and I do that by sacrificing myself sometimes.
You do a lot.
And I did that because when I was hired, Josh needed me for a certain function, and I did that. And I've maxed it out for my 4 years, and I've grown something beautiful, and I love it here. But is that what I want to do every day for the rest of my life? And I think that's what Josh was trying to discover in me. And by doing that, it allowed the door to open to the other administrative team to finally feel like they had a place to come out and tell me that as well. Because if I'm not, really being successful at what I'm doing, they can feel it. And we want talent to stay on the team, and you can lose talent if somebody isn't really functioning to their highest capacity. And we've talked about hiring A+ players, and I know what that feels like and how scary that can feel.
I've done it.
Yeah, I have done it, and I've overcome that, and it's one of my greatest things I'm so proud of is there's 3, A+ people on this team that I'm willingly ready to hand my job over to. And how that feels, and how to overcoming that emotionally.
And so for like a business owner, and you run a team, when you have people that can hire A+ people, your job in the organization is to protect that person that hires great people, so that they do it more, and that you find them another role so that they can keep doing things like that, because that's probably the highest dollar activity that someone can possibly do, other than maybe lead generation just for the business itself. However, if you get the best people, they're going to be able to get the business. So I think that's where maybe a lot of leaders maybe will fail, is that they will get someone where another person comes in and is fantastic at that role, and then they look at disposing of that person. But if you really find someone that can find great people and do that, you want that to happen continually for the rest. If your goal and vision is big enough, you want that person to stay and do that more and more and more and more.
And I just want to make sure I can share with you what that feels like to be in that position. And I feel like I've been in that position now, and I feel like there's a lot to learn from that, and I can give to people by sharing that story. So, like, when I was here for the first 4 years, like, I did my job, and I did that, and the importance for a leader on a team to make sure that they give your staff a place to feel safe, just because, because what the business is now is not what was going on 4 years ago.
That's
but we
true.
would not be here without that. So, so making sure that you felt I was safe and understanding that you did that, making me feel good about that, so I can leave it at peace and now even honing even more into another skill set. And so that's why EOPS kind of was created, as a safe room for us to go in and sit down and kind of talk about those 5 dysfunctions of a team to help me be more self-aware and help all of us at the table. Everybody at the table needed to go through that themselves, so that
and everyone's going to have different
we
times
could put it out on the table and figure out where we wanted to go next, because we've maxed out. We've been here now for a year and a half. It's time to make a change. So without feeling disappointed or feeling like that's what was it for me. Am I bad at my job? Are you telling me I'm bad at my job? And not taking it that way, because that's not what anybody was saying.
No.
So to talk a little bit about that, we went into the room and Josh had us all read a book called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. We all did it within a week or so, and that was just a very good book if you want to read it. We did a video on it then too, so anybody coming in new to our team in any sort of an administrative capacity can watch that video. They have a choice to either watch the video or read the book, and then they, once they're past their 100 days on the team, they can then come into the EOPS meeting, be welcomed in, and we're going to join in on the train.
Andy found out, it's probably like 160 days plus 300.
No. Andy's going to be joining us for his first time here too in the next week or so. So we're excited to have him there. So just really a brief run over.
And just thanks for being vulnerable because I think every single business has those issues. Every single team will have those issues if they're growing to where they need to go. And you're going to have people that are going to change and move and go into different positions.
If you make a hire and think that you're just going to stick them there and that's what they're going to do forever, then that's on you, because that's not going to grow you anywhere to fix a problem just for today. So you got to make sure you keep inspiring, motivating, and finding out what's next.
Yeah, I think that was a really good. I think let's just end on that. We had another story, but I think that story is a really good story. Is just knowing that when you hire someone and they're growing and the business is growing, that things are going to change, and what you do is what's your thought process of a leader when you have other people that are vying for positions and raising the game of the organization? What are you going to do to help the next person who is help develop a role and then help them transition, especially if they're not going to work in that same role together? Because sometimes a department will grow together where, say, listings doubled or tripled. Well, then maybe there's like 3 people working together in that
now
role.
We need another EOPS member in that, so there's 2 people running side by side. But right now what I'm facing is my A+, who I love so very much, is going to be taking over listings, and I trust this person more than anything, but to give that away, knowing that somebody's better than yourself and being vulnerable to that and handing that over to face your own unknown and your own future in a team that really has possibilities and a future with it. That's what I want. That's what I want to lay down in my grave at the end of my life and feel like I want to do. So, and that's what I'm going to work for, because I'd be disappointed in myself if I sat here at the end and said that I didn't take a chance to just keep moving. If I stayed where I was, I'm not the best.
That's
and then maybe I'd be dehiring myself in a year anyways.
Right, and that's not what, just looking over our progression, knowing each other for 4 years, your language hasn't been to be in that position for the rest of your life. So I think that's just kind of a fulfilling prophecy of where that where you want to go, and your soul is telling you that it's to keep going. It's keep on to the next thing, and someone else to button it up and just nail it and can do and have a huge opportunity in a role, but that's going to be their role and that's not going to be your role.
Yeah, and you help me find that as soon as possible.
I've done the same thing. I've gone through for a bunch of roles, and I know that I'm not going to be in any of those roles because I can't be the best at that.
Right.
So I'm going to keep going until I find the best, unless my job is just to keep growing, and that's what I'm the best at. So maybe that's what it is, right? And that's the same thing for you.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be the same thing for multiple other members of our organization.
Finding your full potential. So, and I want to know what that is. So,
Yep.
so that's kind of where I'm at.
So thanks for joining us on another episode of the Teaming Up Show. Again, if you have any questions or you just want to talk and just have something to share, feel free to do it in the comments section, and we'll see you on the next one.
Awesome. Adios, guys.